Well, this is a brand new, by brand new I mean it's got just 20 miles on it. What, 2023 or 24?
2023.
2023.
992 GT3.
GT3. No turbocharger, what's it, about 500 horsepower?
502 horsepower.
Right.
Naturally aspirated 4-liter.
Wow.
It's got a red line of 9,000 RPM.
The red line is 9,000. That's pretty good.
Which is absolutely extraordinary.
It is amazing. It is amazing.
And when you think about what these Porsches are, which are street cars designed for very, very, very high level track duty as well.
When acquired for the Audrain collection, it's outfitted the way I would do it. It has the comfort seats rather than the sports seat. You know, the one thing I love about Aston Martin is it's a sports car, but it's a comfortable, luxurious sports car. You know, you don't feel like a 17-year-old when you take a woman out and she's going, why are these seats uncomfortable? Why is my hair blowing all over the place? You know, you don't have any of those problems in that. And the same thing with this, you know, beautifully outfitted interior, nothing overdone, extremely comfortable seats, just perfect steering wheel, perfect steering. It really feels like a solid piece of billet. It is unbelievable. Of course, it's brand new, so we're kind of...
Well, it's brand new, but it's also, again, to your point, it's built to a very, very careful dual purpose. It's got incredible performance. I mean, 502 horsepower today is not maximum horsepower, but Porsche understands, because of course they race, balance. And so this car has a carbon fiber hood. It's got very advanced aerodynamics that they say actually begin to work at fairly low speeds. The downforce this can generate, obviously at high speeds, is dramatic. But even at lower speeds, it really contributes to the car's handling characteristics. One of the other things, of course, which is very special about this car is that it is painted a unique color. This color has been dubbed Audrain Green, which is the color of the Audrain logo, and it's an example of the extreme personalization that you can use when buying a new Porsche. This is Paint to Sample Plus. I'm led to believe that it took about 2 years for the process to be completed from initial submission of the paint sample to approval by Porsche, because again, like everything they do, it has to be done to exactly their standards. They don't want to just say, oh, you want to paint this car Leno lavender? Well, that's very nice, but what if Leno lavender fades after a year? Then they want to make sure that the car that goes out from one of their dealers, in this case our good friends Porsche of Warwick, the Cars and Coffee sponsor for the Audrain, make sure that this is a car they can stand behind. So it goes through all sorts of tests at Porsche to make sure that the paint can be replicated, so they can give you touch-up paint in case there's an accident. They can fix the car and do it to Porsche level standards. And all of that is a lot more than simply, oh, I like this color, let's paint the car.
Well, the thing I like about it is, you know, there are a lot of cars in this class that have more horsepower than the car can handle. So when you put your foot in it, you know, you're going sideways and you think, oh, wow, what a wild beast. No, it's just not well thought out. This is a well thought out car. 500 horsepower these days is not excessive, but it's far more effective than other cars that have way more horsepower but can't handle the way this does, you know?
Correct.
You can use this all the time.
That's exactly the word I was thinking of, is using. This is 502 road horsepower as opposed to 1,000 bar stool horsepower.
You know, it's funny. Whenever I watch some of the shootouts the magazines do for high speed, it's always Porsche and Corvette. Other companies come in, but those two are all, because those two love to be driven. You know, I mean, Porsche guys will brag they have 125,000 miles. Ferrari guys will brag their car only has 1,500 miles.
Well, there I'm going to differ with you,
and you being a Ferrari guy,
Not just because I'm a Ferrari guy, but it's a very interesting thing with the plethora of high-performance Porsche models and their incredible interest in the aftermarket. Let's just say the secondary market. There are a lot of people who are looking for extremely low mileage, high performance Porsches. I don't understand it, because you're behind the wheel of the car, I'll be behind the wheel of the car shortly. the joy in owning a car like this is driving it.
Right.
You know, it's I don't know why anybody with any car that has a wonderful performance characteristic wants to not drive it.
Well, some people possess it like it's artwork, you know. I always remember...
I'll buy a painting and then buy a car.
The drummer from the Rolling Stones had a Lagonda, but it was like in his living room. A Watson, yeah. And he never drove it. He just liked to look at it. Yeah, and I get that too. It's not what I like. I don't understand it, but I do get that. But I guess the main point is, Porsche, Corvettes, they're meant to be driven, and that's where the real fun is. And I think this car will be just as solid in 100,000 miles.
Well, that's the thing, and you and I have talked about this before. When this car has miles on it, not only will it be a testament to the engineers and designers and the workers who built the car, but also to the car having been used.
Right.
Because when you drive a car, it's a much happier car. Especially today with all the electronics in the cars, etc. They really need to run through their cycles and get things to their point of operating efficiency to really be long-lasting, perform at the best. The other interesting characteristic of this car is that it is so carefully detailed. Both the exterior, they made quite a big thing with this car, the fact that the rear wing is hung from the top, like it was on the RS Club Sport race cars, because it gives much cleaner airflow. And again, just those little tweaks that you do on the racetrack to give yourself maximum effect is carried onto the road car, and I think that's a fascinating thing to see.
I love how snickety the gearbox is, if there's such a word. It really just clicks from one gear to another. It's like...
Yeah, it's a really positive gearbox that Porsches are known for.
Right.
And it's one of the other interesting things too, of course, the standard gearbox on the GT3 is the PDK.
Right.
And the 6-speed manual is available as an option. And it's very funny on the website, it talks about the glories of the PDK transmission, then in very small type. For those who wish the more intimate driving experience, we offer as an option the 6-speed manual gearbox.
I prefer the more intimate driving. Well, that's a classic. You know, obviously you're never going to be as fast as a PDK.
Right.
So if you're racing, you'll probably lose. But if you enjoy driving and just understanding your car and what gear it's in at any one time, it's a wonderful gearbox.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. The PDK is a very good gearbox. It's very smart, very intuitive. I found that I was in Italy doing an assignment for the Porsche Club of America and driving a new 911 Targa.
Right.
And I found that the PDK didn't always find the right downshift for me for a lot of very slow mountain curves, and that's the kind of thing that you would just know. You see the turn coming, and you select the lower gear, and you go, you know? And of course, everyone always talks about the wonderful sound of a naturally aspirated engine.
I mean, that's only $6,000. You got another $3,000 to go. You just we're on a tiny island here.
Correct, no.
Or as we call it, jail island, if you...
Well, frankly, even on a racetrack, there are going to be very few racetracks that are going to allow you to get to maximum revs in every gear because you'll run out of straight. But again, it's interesting that Porsches for a very long time, high-performance Porsches, have also always had very usable. So it starts to pull from about 3,500 RPM, and the real part of the rev range that works is from 6,500 to about 7,000. And that's really where sort of the meat is.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat here. Yeah, I mean, it just, corners feel like straights, you know. It doesn't look no lean, no, just wonderful.
Lean, oh my God, when was the last time a car leaned?
Yeah,
no, we remember leaning cars.
Well, I drive leaning cars all the time, that's why I can appreciate these.
Exactly.
You know, I got a 60 TR3, and that you feel like, whoa. You know, it's like
you lean your elbows out and scrape the road.
Like being in a canoe, you know.
All right, let me try a hand behind the wheel. We'll
All
pull
right, yeah,
up
let's
in
see
here
what you think.
and I'll take a
Give it a
spin.
shot. If you bump into the owner, don't mention that I took it to $9,000.
All right, so let's see what the big deal is. I mean, you know, it impressed you, Jay, but you know, you don't drive very many interesting cars very often, do you? You don't get out.
No,
much.
not with interesting people. No.
Yeah, well,
no,
that's for sure.
Yeah,
That's for sure. You know, because this is a new experience for you. You know, I've driven a lot of Porsches. It's quite funny. I've said this before. I have a reputation among some people as being an anti-Porsche guy, which is completely untrue.
Right.
And one of the things that, frankly, here I will blow smoke up your skirt and say one of the things that I think that makes our relationship so great is the fact that our automotive tastes are so wide.
Well,
you know?
we like anything that rolls, explodes, and makes noise, really, for the most part. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
It's really about it. I mean, the cars we don't like are usually dull and boring and don't do their job particularly well. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're drawn to people who have similar interests, similar goals, you know, that type of thing. I mean, it's fun to have car conversations with people who know what they're talking about. I mean, I meet people in Hollywood all the time. Oh, I bought this car. Is that front-wheel drive? Oh, I don't know. Really? You don't know? No, they didn't even know what I meant by front-wheel drive. I mean, all the wheels drive, right?
All the wheels drive, exactly.
No, you know, so, but that's okay. Yeah, but you know, you don't pretend to be a car person.
Oh, I'll tell you a horrible story. There was a woman I knew years ago in Pennsylvania who was a real estate agent, and she was out with a bunch of people from the office, and they passed by a home that had a sign out for sale by owner. So they went back to the office later and they were saying, "Hey, let's talk about that FSBO." She said, "FSBO?" I said, "Yeah, for sale by owner." I said, "Aren't all houses for sale by owner?"
Right.
I said, "Well, literally yes, but actually sort of no."
Right.
So yeah, all the wheels turn, but all the wheels do not drive.
Right. Exactly.
But it is a thing that I have said that, and people watching this network who've watched me driving other Porsches, where I have gone into great raptures. The 911R, for instance, is one of my favorite modern Porsches. I drove recently on the channel an absolutely pristine, original 1967 911S, which was frankly revelatory. I mean, it just spoke so much about what the brand is about.
We Americans are some accustomed to the V8 being associated with prestige and power. I mean, other parts of the world, the six-cylinder engine.
Six-cylinder is a big deal.
Is a big deal. Like the Jaguar. I mean, when the Jag came out in 1948, dual overhead cams. I mean, that was unbelievable. I mean, you didn't see anything like that in America except on a race car. And that was 1948.
Exactly.
You know, we didn't get overhead cams in sort of everyday cars until, what, 20 years ago maybe? Something like that.
Exactly. So here we are sort of toddling around at about 3,000 RPM in second gear.
Well, I like this because it has some of the touring package. It makes it a little more civilized.
I do love the way it just gathers speed.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it's not one of those things that sort of punches you in the back and all of a sudden you've got speed. It sort of gathers up and you can use it as much of it as you want to based on how you hit the throttle. That's really cool. That is very, very, very cool. And I think, again, an example of how a car can be very useful.
Watch out those golf carts.
Yeah. Yeah, the engine really comes alive at about $6,000. And it, again, as we've spoken of so often, the sound of the engine note also changes. It's almost as if it's telling you, this is where I want to be.
Right.
And this is where I think that Porsche's identity really shines through. That car, with this car, with all this modern technology in suspension, in air handling, all of that, that curve was taken exactly the way that 1967 911S took it. I mean, that's what Porsche's all about to me. I think the idea of combining this great engineering, wonderful performance, and then the personalization that really makes it unique. There's a big thing in value a couple of years back, I'm sure you remember. It came especially in the muscle car era, where everyone tried to do a one of one of something, and they tried to measure these things. So it was only one of 12 convertibles in yellow with a white top, and one of 6 convertibles in yellow with a white top that had the AM radio, and one of 3 convertibles in yellow that had the AM radio, but no air conditioning.
Right. I remember they did that at the Osborne. They had a perfectly normal Shelby, and there was a one of one Shelby, and it was green, which was not the unusual part, but it had an electric antenna where you could press. And it was the only Shelby built with an electric. Well, I mean, to have that car.
I mean, you know, I know that I identify Carroll Shelby with electric antennas.
Exactly.
So that's for sure. Absolutely. So, Jay, it's been great exploring this brand new GT3 with you, and giving a wonderful cruise around this part of Newport.
Yeah, it's a shame we just have to cruise so slowly, but maybe one of these days we'll come back and put it on the track. Yeah.
But in the meantime, everyone here can admire the Audrain Green.
There you
You'll
go.
never see another.
It's the only one there is.